Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk have been appointed to be two of the most powerful and influential members of President Trump's coming administration. They will head a new agency called the Department of Government Efficiency, which will be tasked with cutting waste and reducing government superfluous spending. Does it sound familiar?
Ministerio de Turismo y Deporte, afuera. Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera. Ministerio de Obras Públicas, afuera. Aunque te resistas. Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación, algo bien del sector privado. Nada bueno salió del sector público, afuera.
I don't claim to be a mind reader, but it seems to me that Javier Milei's initiatives and proposals for the Argentinian state could have influenced President Trump's decision to do something similar to the U.S. government apparatus. Trump has expressed that he has a fondness for Milei, and during a gala at the America First Institute, the 47th president told Milei to make Argentina great again. At that same event, Javier Milei gave a speech where he said the following: "I want to congratulate the president-elect for his resounding victory and for the greatest political comeback in history, facing the entire establishment and even putting his own life at risk. Today the world is much better because winds of freedom are blowing, which are much stronger, a true miracle and conclusive proof that the forces of heaven are on our side." But beside the rhetoric and the group photos, how does Donald Trump as the head of the United States help Milei's Argentina? Let's start with two items that are somewhat connected: financing and investment. For more than a decade, Argentina has been affected by a severe economic crisis, characterized by soaring inflation, debt burdens, and a fragile currency. Central to its challenges is the International Monetary Fund loan it secured in 2018, a staggering $44 billion package with stringent repayment terms. The United States is the most influential country in the International Monetary Fund due to its significant financial contribution and voting power. The U.S. holds the largest quota share, accounting for approximately 17.43% of the total, which reflects its substantial economic size and financial commitment to the IMF's resources. Trump's return to the presidency could offer Argentina more favorable repayment conditions, alleviating the pressure on its fiscal reserves and allowing the country to stabilize its economy. In addition to restructuring repayment terms, Trump could facilitate the release of over $10 billion in previously withheld IMF disbursements. These funds, which have remained in limbo due to Argentina's inability to meet certain IMF benchmarks, could play a transformative role. By using these resources to eliminate exchange rate restrictions, Argentina could attract foreign investment, improve trade flows, and restore confidence in its monetary system. One of the greatest challenges to Argentina's ability to attract foreign investors has been its rigidly controlled currency exchange system, locally known as
El Cepo.
Foreign corporations cannot freely convert their pesos into foreign currency in order to repatriate dividends. One doesn't need to be a genius to understand why so many multinationals would think twice before investing in a country that limits your ability to take your profits back home. One of Milei's main objectives in terms of economic policy was to get rid of the exchange rate restrictions, yet it's not that easy. Doing so overnight could end up overwhelming the central bank's ability to meet the demand for dollars, hence further devaluing the Argentine peso and hurting the people's purchasing power. Before he can get rid of the restrictions, first he needs to strengthen the country's stack of international reserves in dollars. It is estimated that, in order to remove the restrictions safely and orderly, the country needs around $10 billion, which is the same amount of the disbursement that Argentina would receive if the IMF were to release such funds. Because the United States is the largest funder of the IMF, and hence its most influential country, Trump's help could make that happen without making much of a fuss. Add to this that thanks to Milei's reforms, Argentina has been exceeding the requirements that the IMF imposed as conditions for the loan. It is now almost an inevitability that Argentina will receive those $10 billion. Well, that's the easy part. Now let's get into the most complicated part: trade. When it comes to trade, the MAGA agenda and Milei's agenda are undeniably different. Milei is an anarcho-capitalist, while Trump is an economic nationalist. During the campaign, Trump championed the need to impose tariffs on products entering America from other countries. To be more exact, he talked about charging 20% right off the bat on any product coming from anywhere else. Milei's philosophy can't be more different. He wants trade to flow freely unopposed by government intervention as a way to boost competition, innovation, and growth. How can these two programs coexist in an eventual alliance between the U.S. and Argentina? Fortunately, there is a way. Trump's often hardline stance on trade, including his threat of imposing a 20% tariff on imported goods, presents both a challenge and an opportunity for Argentina. By negotiating a free trade agreement with the United States, Argentina could secure an exemption from these tariffs, positioning itself as a competitive supplier of goods to the U.S. market. Such a deal could catalyze higher exports of Argentine beef, wine, soybeans, and other key products to the U.S., capitalizing on import substitution as tariffs dissuade trade with the European Union, China, and Brazil. For the U.S., Argentine imports could serve as an affordable and high-quality alternative, reducing reliance on markets Trump has often criticized for unfair trade practices. Trump won't oppose a free trade deal with Argentina, but Mercosur will. Argentina is part of the customs union known as Mercosur, which also includes Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Mercosur doesn't allow its members to sign free trade deals independently with other countries. If Argentina wants to get into a free trade deal with the United States, it would first have to get out of Mercosur. That's a tall order, mainly because the Argentine Congress is unlikely to approve a move that most would consider radical. It's not impossible, but not very likely as of now. Only a dramatic rearrangement of congressional power could increase the odds of a free trade deal with the U.S. We will have to wait until October 2025, when the South American country will have its legislative elections. If you're from Argentina and you know of a loophole for this to happen any other way, please let me know in the comments. Latin America remains a region of strategic interest for the United States, particularly as left-wing governments gain traction across the continent. From Brazil under Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to Colombia under Gustavo Petro, much of the region is aligned with progressive policies often at odds with U.S. conservative ideals. In this context, Argentina under Javier Milei, a libertarian president with pro-market, pro-U.S. leanings, represents a critical ally. By aligning with Argentina, a Trump administration could establish a foothold in a region otherwise dominated by ideological adversaries. Argentina could serve as a base for U.S. influence, promoting free market reforms and countering the regional sway of countries like China and Russia. Besides their differences in terms of economic policy, Trump and Milei share common ideals when it comes to international affairs. Their pro-Israel stances reflect their broader commitments to values of sovereignty, opposition to international bodies perceived as anti-Israel, and alignment with conservative foreign policy agendas. Trump's administration took a hardline stance against Iran, withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal and imposing harsh sanctions. He also emphasized Israel's security in the face of Iranian aggression. Milei, whose libertarian ideology rejects authoritarian regimes, has similarly expressed disdain for Iran. His criticism of Argentina's past alliances with countries like Iran, particularly in light of unresolved issues like the AMIA bombing, aligns with his pro-Israel stance. In the region, Milei has been a vocal opponent to regimes such as Cuba and Venezuela. As a matter of fact, while campaigning, Milei stated the following: "I am not going to do business with China. I am not going to do business with any communist." However, Milei has changed his stance in the past, in face of political realities. Let's point to the relationships between China and Argentina. When campaigning for the presidency last year, he declared that he would not have relations with communist China. But during the 2024 G20 meeting, Javier Milei met with President Xi Jinping, after which Argentina's presidency released a statement containing the following: "During this meeting, issues of relevance to the bilateral relationship were discussed, including constructive cooperation and the expansion of trade relations between the two countries. China expressed its interest in increasing trade with the Argentine Republic, while Argentina expressed its vocation to diversify and increase its exports to the Chinese market. Existing commercial and financial ties and agreements were reaffirmed, as well as the vocation to continue exploring new opportunities to expand and improve everything that involves the strengthening of the bilateral relationship." As we can see by this statement, when it comes to geopolitics, the national interest takes precedence over personal friendship. Therefore, we can't assume that because Milei and Trump are friends, things will flow uneventfully. Let's hope that in the future, the relationship between these two leaders can bear fruit for the citizens of both countries to enjoy. But now please share with us what you think. Is a free trade deal between Argentina and the United States possible? Will Milei influence Trump's America, or will Trump influence Milei's Argentina? This is Latinometry. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our interesting videos about Latin America and the world. Please like and share this video, and thanks for watching.